There are very few brands in history that become so dominant they actually become a verb in our daily language. For example, you don't search the internet, you Google it. And for nearly a century in the UK and Europe, you didn't vacuum your carpets, you hoovered them. You might know Hoover as a washing machine manufacturer, but they first made their name by producing vacuum cleaners. They used to be the gold standard of the domestic appliance sector. If you bought a Hoover, you were making an investment. You were buying heavy-duty cast, aluminum, repairable motors, and a machine that was built to last decades. But today, the Hoover name is little more than a sticker. It's only a badge slapped onto mass-produced, unrepairable plastic designed to fail exactly when the warranty expires. After pulling these machines apart on the workbench for over 40 years, I can easily say that the decline isn't just obvious, but insulting. However, the fall of Hoover wasn't just a slow decline in manufacturing quality. It was accelerated by one of the most disastrous and self-destructive marketing decisions in corporate history, which led us to the current crisis: planned obsolescence. This is the story of how a janitor with asthma accidentally created an appliance empire, and how corporate greed turned a legend into landfill. Before we dive deep, I want to hear from you. What was the last appliance that failed on you? I want you to name and shame the brand in the comments below. Also, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video. Our story doesn't start in a corporate boardroom. It starts in 1908 in Canton, Ohio, with a man named James Murray Spangler. He was an asthmatic department store janitor, and the dust kicked up by his manual carpet sweeper was making him violently ill. Using a tin soapbox, a fan, a sateen pillowcase, and a broom handle, he cobbled together the first portable electric vacuum cleaner. Spangler patented it, but he didn't have the money to manufacture it. He sold the patent to his cousin's husband, William Henry Boss Hoover. He was a leather goods manufacturer who saw the writing on the wall. The car industry was about to destroy the market for horse harnesses. He needed a new product, and Spangler's machine was the perfect fit. The golden age of aluminum established the baseline of quality. The early Hoover machines were heavy, industrial marvels made of cast aluminum. They were built for an era when things were an investment. They weren't designed with planned obsolescence in mind. As an appliance engineer, I look at these early designs with absolute respect because they were fully modular. If a motor's carbon brushes wore down, you grabbed a screwdriver, opened the housing, and replaced them for pennies. If the bag tore, you stitched it. Nothing was sealed, nothing was hidden. It was honest engineering. When a brand becomes a verb, you know it has won. In the UK and Europe, Hoover didn't just sell vacuums, they also built legendary washing machines that defined an era. They were so dominant that hoovering became the word for cleaning, regardless of what machine you actually used. By the 1960s, Hoover wasn't just dominating the vacuum market, they were revolutionizing the laundry room. Now we are talking about the Hoovermatic Twintub. For millions of households, this machine changed the way domestic life operated. Let me give you some extra information right now. For decades, the beating heart of this operation wasn't in America, but in the Welsh town of the Merthyr Tydfil plant in Wales. The massive factory opened in 1948, eventually employing over 5,000 local workers. They weren't just assembling appliances, they were also the lifeblood of a community, proudly engineering machines built to last a generation. Hoover reached the height of its prestige in 1973 when it received a royal visit from Queen Elizabeth II at the plant. But as the new corporate owners prioritized cheap overseas mass production over quality, those skilled jobs were deemed expendable. In 2009, after over 60 years of manufacturing history, the gates were permanently closed. The end of that factory wasn't just the devastating loss of thousands of local jobs, but it was the final nail in the coffin for British Hoover engineering. Anyway, let's move on. The design was brilliantly simple and incredibly effective. Unlike modern automatic machines that use a single drum to wash, rinse and spin, the Twintub split these tasks into two dedicated zones. one with a pulsator for washing, and a separate high-speed centrifugal tub for spin drying. Instead of a drum that tumbles clothes through the water, the wash tub featured a pulsator, and it was usually a spinning disc mounted on the side or bottom. This created a strong turbulent vortex in the water, aggressively agitating the clothes to force the dirt out. Once the wash cycle finished, the user physically lifted the heavy, wet clothes out of the wash tub, often using wooden tongs, and transferred them into the smaller, perforated spin tub. This tub spun at incredibly high speeds, using centrifugal force to extract the water. They were even much faster than early automatic machines. To understand today's crisis, we have to look at the consumer impact of these early designs and why they were so revolutionary for the industry. Because the washing and spinning were physically separated, a housewife could wash the second load in the wash tub while the first load was spinning dry. This drastically cut down laundry time. On the other hand, in the 1960s, heating water was expensive. With a twin tub, you filled the wash tub with hot soapy water. After washing the first load of whites, you scooped them out and used the exact same hot soapy water to wash the next load of colours, and then perhaps a load of heavily soiled work clothes. However, the twin tub eventually fell out of favour because it required manual labour. Consumers wanted the convenience of putting dirty clothes in, pressing one button and walking away. And yes, we traded manual effort for automation, but that convenience came at a cost. Complex valves, fragile timers, and unrepairable drum systems have become the weak links that drive appliances into landfills prematurely. To the modern eye, it looks like a lot of hard work. You had to physically lift the heavy, wet clothes out of the wash tub and move them into the spin dryer. But from an engineer's standpoint, these machines were perfect. They usually featured a single heavy-duty motor with a relatively simple belt and pulley system that drove both the pulsator and the spin drum. They were even one of the first companies to use roller race bearings in their machines. The controls were purely electromechanical, heavy switches and mechanical timers. If a belt snapped or a switch burned out, you opened the access panel, swapped the part, and the machine ran for another decade. There were no hidden error codes, no printed circuit boards to fry, no sealed bearings, no Wi-Fi receivers, and no software updates that could brick your machine. Just pure electromechanical reliability. You bought one and you kept it for 20 years. But as we entered the late 1980s, the global market shifted. The pressure to lower prices meant substituting heavy metals for cheap plastics, and Hoover, facing stiff competition and a looming recession, started getting desperate. Every good documentary needs a turning point, and Hoover's is one of the most infamous in business history. In 1992, Hoover UK had a problem. Their warehouses were overflowing with unsold stock. To move inventory, they launched what is now considered one of the worst business decisions in history. The deal was staggering. Buy £100 worth of Hoover products and receive 2 free round-trip flights to Europe or America. It was a mathematical catastrophe. The flights were worth vastly more than the appliances. People quickly realized they could buy a vacuum cleaner for £119 just to get £600 worth of flights to Orlando, Florida. Some people bought vacuums they didn't even need, just tossing them in the bin on the way home. Hoover was overwhelmed by the demand. They tried to back out, leading to massive lawsuits, parliamentary inquiries, and the complete destruction of consumer trust. The promotion cost the company nearly £50 million. The royal warrant was revoked. The company was financially crippled and forced to sell. The fallout from the 1992 free flights disaster didn't just hurt Hoover's reputation, it also financially crippled the UK division. The parent company in America, Maytag, was bleeding money because of the European promotion, and they finally decided to pull the plug. In 1995, Hoover was essentially chopped in half. Maytag sold the European division of Hoover to Candy, which is the Italian appliance manufacturer. Suddenly, the Hoover washing machines sold in the UK and Europe were no longer engineered by the original company. They were candy machines wearing a Hoover badge. Decades later, in 2018, the Chinese appliance giant Haier acquired Candy and took control of the Hoover name across Europe. Meanwhile, the American side of the vacuum business took a different path. In 2006, the US division was bought by Tectronic Industries, or TTI, a massive Hong Kong-based conglomerate that also owns brands like Dirt Devil, Ryobi, and Milwaukee Tools. This fragmentation is why the Hoover brand is so confusing today. It isn't a single company with a unified engineering department anymore. It is a licensed name managed by completely different multinational corporations, depending on whether you are buying a vacuum in America or a washing machine in the UK. The original engineering philosophy was the commitment to heavy-duty and repairable components that made Hoover a household name, and it was lost in these corporate handovers. Today, the focus is on optimizing global supply chains and reducing unit costs. If a 10-pound bearing fails, you can't replace it. You have to throw away the entire tub assembly, or more likely, the entire machine. It is the ultimate expression of built-in obsolescence. They optimized for the cheapest possible unit cost and passed the devastating environmental and financial bill onto you, the consumer. In 1908, a janitor with asthma built a machine out of a soapbox and a pillowcase because he needed a tool that simply worked. For decades, the Hoover name meant exactly that. Heavy-duty engineering, repairable motors, and machines that earned the right to become a verb in our daily language. But today, that legacy is dead, destroyed by corporate greed, a catastrophic marketing gimmick, and ultimately swallowed by global monopolies. When you buy a Hoover today, you aren't buying the engineering of the past. You are buying only the sticker. A sticker slapped onto a machine with sealed drums, cheap plastic components, and built-in obsolescence. The industry wants you to believe that this throwaway culture is normal, that paying hundreds of pounds every few years for unrepairable junk is just the cost of modern life. It isn't. We have the right to demand better, and we have the right to repair what we own. If you are tired of paying premium prices for disposable machines, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video. If we really helped, you can always click on the Bipolar Beer page as well. Thanks very much indeed for watching.